ages 7 to 13 to come out, sign up for our camp. If you're a parent or a coach, you want to come out as well, you can come out too. So you can see all this information at DariusNextLevelTraining.com. I see you there. DariusNextLevelTraining.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. The sports world keeps spinning, and the local conversation continues. Now, Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Monday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us as we embark on a new week. It is the final week of Jaguar OTAs. They will have 3 more OTA practices. Next week is the mandatory veteran minicamp, and that's it. They'll get about, 5 weeks off or so, and they will return for training camp at the end of July. I was down there earlier today at Jaguar OTAs. I'll give you not only my thoughts, Denmark, also my perspective. I know people are very excited about both the thoughts and the perspective that I have watching guys run around in T-shirt, helmets, and shorts. So we will get to all that, but a couple of interesting Jaguar topics, subjects that came out of today's events we will get to as well. Demetrius Harvey of the Florida Times-Union. He's going to join us inside of about 20 minutes from right now as we'll get his thoughts on everything he has seen down there through 3 weeks of OTAs. Coming up towards the 9 o'clock hour, Zach Hanchu, NBC Sports Edge. A little NBA Finals talk as the Miami Heat last night tied Denver at a game apiece. The series now moves to South Beach for Game 3 Wednesday night for the NBA Finals. So we got a lot to do. We're glad you're with us every night here on Hacker After Dark. We do kick it off with a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal? What is the big deal?
No big deal. It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
So a couple of things really struck me today that Doug Peterson had to say, and one thing struck me before I even made it down to OTAs, and that was a signing that happened in the National Football League. I want to begin there first. You know, we've talked for weeks and weeks and weeks and probably months and months, to be honest, about do the Jaguars have enough to affect the opposing quarterback? Do the Jacksonville Jaguars have enough of a pass rush coming into this year? Keep in mind, they lost Arden Key last year, who had 4.5 sacks. So do they have enough? So here's what the Jaguars have returning from their 2022 team. Josh Allen led the team in sacks with 7. That's not good when your team leader has 7 sacks, but that is the reality of the situation. DeJuan Smoot was second with 5. As of right now, he is not on the roster. Arden Key was third with 4.5. He's now in Nashville playing for the hated Tennessee Titans. Trayvon Walker, 3.5. Roy Robertson Harris, 3. Devon Hamilton, 2.5. Foye Oluokun, 2. Everybody else had less than 2 sacks last year. So Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, and Roy Robertson Harris, the only 3 players from last year's squad still on the roster in 2023 that had 3 sacks or more. That's not good. That's not good. Now, what did they do in free agency? Well, not much, right? They got a couple of interior defensive linemen. Henry Mondu, Michael Dogby. I don't think either one of those are going to be knocking down all-pro honors this year by getting double-digit sacks. In the draft, they got some nice players. Tyler Lacey, Yasir Abdullah, guys that potentially could help, but at the end of the day, they're 4th-round rookies. How much can you really get and expect out of a 4th-round rookie? So you look on the market, the free agent market. Here we sit on June 5th, and Yannick Ngakoue and Frank Clark and Jadeveon Clowney and Justin Houston and Melvin Ingram, and all these guys are just sitting out there, just waiting. I mean, yeah, you're going to have to pay them a little bit, but the Jaguars have money. they're only going to sign these guys to one-year deals anyway. What are the Jaguars waiting for? And then this morning, you wake up to the news that Leonard Floyd, former Georgia Bulldog, former Los Angeles Ram, a guy that's had at least 9 sacks in 3 straight years. 9 sacks in at least 3 straight years. Signs today with the Buffalo Bills on a 1-year deal. So here's a guy that's been available. Free agency started 2.5 months ago. He's just been sitting out there. Buffalo gets him today on a 1-year deal. Now, any of these veterans you bring in, Leonard Floyd or whomever, I mentioned Houston, Ngakoue, Clowney, etc., am I expecting them to have double-digit sacks and make a Pro Bowl? Of course not. Of course not. But as it stands right now, other than Josh Allen, who has not been here for the Jaguar offseason program, by the way, he is the only guy on the roster that had 4 sacks or more last season. So the Jaguars obviously must know something that we do not. They must believe Trayvon Walker is going to take a giant step. They must believe K'Lavon Chaisson will start playing like a first-round pick. Because on paper, you look at the contenders in the AFC. Cincinnati, Kansas City, Buffalo, the Chargers, the Ravens, the Jets, go on, the Dolphins. It is without question that the Jaguars are worst among those contenders statistically at what they have in getting to the opposing quarterback. So why a guy like Leonard Floyd, you don't bring him in on a 1-year deal, and worse yet, he goes to one of your AFC rivals. He goes to a team that not only do you play this year in London, but a team you'll be competing with for one of those playoff spots. I don't understand it. I cannot believe that they haven't done something yet. And Doug Peterson gets asked about it every day. Every press conference, Doug Peterson gets asked about it. So I'm not sure what the situation is, but in fact, Denmark, let's call an audible. Doug Peterson 10 today. Pull up Doug Peterson. Actually, I'm sorry. Hold that thought. We'll get to that in a moment. I do want to hear from Doug Peterson on that defensive end situation, but we'll get to that in a moment because he did talk about it today. But let's begin with OTAs as a whole, because Peterson actually said something during today's press conference that I want to get to and spend more time on that is as important, if not more important, than the Leonard Floyd story. Again, Leonard Floyd signing in Buffalo. First and foremost, Doug Peterson opened up the press conference today talking about why he's been pleased with his team during the OTA season.
One, because the participation, the amount of guys that are here, that's the number one thing that I look at because it's a voluntary off-season program, right? Next week is the mandatory mini camp, the only 3 days that the guys are required to be here. So I've been really pleased, been having great participation, great effort. Guys are doing the right things. We've been able to work on some stuff that the coaches have, taken away from last season, or new ideas, new thoughts. We've been able to implement those, this spring, and really, just get stuff on film, really. But it's been a good offseason so far.
There you go, Jaguar head coach Doug Peterson. Now this, to me, what he says right here, is one of the more interesting things that I've heard from that stadium in quite some time. How times have changed. Doug Peterson today, speaking to the media before OTA practice number 7, was asked flat out if the Jaguars, and listen to what he says here, if the Jaguars have any interest in signing wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins.
I mean, it's hard to speak on guys, obviously, because we got a really good room right now, and it's hard to add someone of his caliber and his talent to a room that's already talented, you consider everything, but at this time, it's not a reality for us to bring someone like that in.
That was a very surreal moment for me. You think about how awful this organization has been before Doug Peterson got here. You think about the ineptitude on offense for so long, particularly at the wide receiver position, right? It's the summer months. We'll probably do the best 22 in Jaguar history. Guess what? Jimmy Smith and Keenan McCardell are still your two best receivers, and neither one of them has played here in almost 20 years. It's a rite of passage that Jimmy Smith and Keenan McCardell are your best receivers, and it's not even close. No one's even come close to being where they are as far as the record books in Jaguar history. The wide receiver position here has been lacking for a long time. And DeAndre Hopkins is available, right, on the open market. He got flat out released by Arizona. And I don't know if DeAndre Hopkins would have any interest in coming here. I have no idea. But when Doug Peterson is asked about it, and basically he said that's not a reality for us. And the way I took that, that's not a reality for us, not because DeAndre Hopkins doesn't want to come here. It's because they don't need DeAndre Hopkins. Think about what this roster has done in the last 18 months. From Christian Kirk to Zay Jones to Evan Ingram to Calvin Ridley. And the production that has been brought in here, the leadership that has been brought in here, you want to throw Jamal Agnew into there as well. They just simply don't have room for a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. Why would you bring... People have said, well, sign DeAndre Hopkins. Why? You got 4 guys on the roster that the last time they played a full season in the NFL, not one of them caught less than 73 passes. If you take Ridley's 2020 year and then last year's years for Jones, Kirk, and Ingram. But just think about that. It's not a reality for us here in Jacksonville to bring in DeAndre Hopkins. Not because DeAndre Hopkins doesn't want to come here, but because the Jaguars simply don't have room for him. They don't have enough footballs to go around. They have too much talent in that wide receiver room for a guy of DeAndre Hopkins' caliber. They would not make him happy because they can't get the ball to him enough because they have too many other guys. Quite the change. Quite the change here in Jacksonville from what we've experienced in years past. And by the way, I agree with him. I have no interest in signing DeAndre Hopkins. I am perfectly content, if not unbelievably happy at the fact that Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, Calvin Ridley, Jamal Agnew, you're good, man. That's a good wide receiver room. I saw Ridley, Jones, and Kirk out there at practice today, snapped a photo, said top 5 wide receiver trio in the NFL. Yeah. Tell me 5 other teams in the NFL that have a better trio of wide receivers than Kirk, Ridley, and Zay Jones. I'm not sure you could find 5 of them. Back to the defensive end conversation for one moment. Again, Leonard Floyd signing in Buffalo. The Jaguars, on paper, and that's all we can go on, right? You might not be a statistician. Maybe I'm too much of a stats guy. But Josh Allen was 7 last year. He hasn't been to any of the offseason program. The leading sacker for the Jaguars that's participated in OTAs this year, that was on the roster last year, was Trayvon Walker with 3.5. It's not good. Doug Peterson asked today what the Jaguars would look for in a veteran pass rusher.
You know, somebody has to fit your roster and fit, you know, your structure financially and all of that. But, you know, there's going to be guys probably going into training camp. There's going to be guys coming out of training camp that we'll take a look at. But you know, those are all things for, you know, conversations for down the road. And we've been pleased with the guys that are here and been working. And, you know, we just got to get them better and ready to go.
That seems to be the answer they're given. He's asked about it every press conference. I mean, if the season started today, the guys that you're relying on to get the quarterback are Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, K'Lavon Chaisson, Roy Robertson Harris, Tyler Lacey, and Yasir Abdullah, I guess. Maybe Devin Lloyd a little bit if you move him around. No Dewan Smoot, no Arden Key. That's 9.5 of your sacks that are gone from last year. And keep in mind, they only had 35 sacks total. So let me do my Wolfson math on that. 25% of your sacks from last year are no longer here. And you've done nothing to replace them except draft a couple of fourth-round rookies. It's an interesting strategy. Again, I still am of the belief that Justin Houston, Davion Clowney, Frank Clark, Ngakoue, Melvin Ingram, one of them will be a Jaguar. But Leonard Floyd is the guy that I kind of wanted. And when he went to Buffalo today, that was like, what are we doing? All right? 3 years in a row, at least 9 sacks. You're telling me Leonard Floyd could not have come here and helped this football team? Now, maybe they called. Maybe he said no. I'm speculating. Maybe he wanted to be reunited with Von Miller. There's a lot of maybes that happen. But here's what I know. It took till June the 5th for him to find a job. He signs a 1-year deal in Buffalo. He played at the University of Georgia. He'd be coming back to the southeastern part of the country. I don't know why the Jaguars did not at least show publicly more interest there. Maybe we'll see. Maybe they sign another veteran pass rusher at some point. I think they need to, because thinking about that pass rush right now, that's worrisome to me heading into the 2023 season. With Dylan Denmark, the Hacker Ryan Green with you. Jacksonville, we're glad you're with us. It is a Monday night edition of Hacker After Dark. Coming up next, Demetrius Harvey of the Florida Times-Union. Let's talk Jaguars. Let's talk Trevor Lawrence. Let's talk a little Josh Allen as well. Again, Josh Allen was not here at OTAs again today. It's still voluntary. That changes next week. Next week it becomes mandatory. There were 88 guys here today. Evan Ingram cannot be here because he's not under contract. Josh Allen's the other one. The other 88 guys were here. Perception-wise, that doesn't look great, particularly when you're going into a contract year. We'll talk to Demetrius Harvey about that and much more Jaguar talk. Coming up next, Hacker After Dark rolls on a Monday in Jacksonville. We're glad you're with us.
You've got a lot on your mind.
Text me the play-by-play.
And so do we.
And make no mistake about it, gentlemen.
This is Jacksonville Sports Radio, 1010XL.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who pay attention to every little detail. The ones who fuss, tinker, and sweat the small stuff. Because you know the tiniest thing can make the biggest difference when it comes to keeping business moving. We get it. We're the same way. Offering access to product experts to help you quickly and easily find what you need. So whatever your industry, you know you're always getting professional-grade products. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who
Here's your
get it done.
1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
The Tom Coughlin J Fund helps families battling childhood cancer, and there are ways you can help. Go to tcjfund.org.
City Rescue Mission has been providing food, clothing, and love for over 70 years to the homeless in Jacksonville. If someone you know is struggling, learn more about the City Rescue Mission at crmjax.org.
You have healing power. Even writing a letter or volunteering can help heal a veteran. Find out more at healvets.org.
If you know someone with cancer and no insurance, call the U.S. Uninsured Helpline at 800-234-1317.
Hope Haven believes in children and youth with special needs and abilities and has developed programs to help ensure their success. Find out more about their employment services and internship program at hope-haven.org.
If you're involved in a community event and you'd like us to help spread the word, find out how at 1010XL.com.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, it's Prosser here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan will only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money and pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement project. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. So even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness. Say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 904-999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Or as always, you can visit loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Borland Groover is expanding in St. Johns County. Look for the new Advanced Surgery Center and Medical Facility open in Durbin Crossing in the summer of 2024. Learn more about it at BorlandGroover.com.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
On June 5th, 2014, in the MLB draft, pitcher Brady Aiken is the first pick by the Astros, leading to a fallout in contract negotiations in the Astros organization.
Find your why in your next career move at the First Coast YMCA. Everyone can get involved and make a difference in your community at the Y. And if you'd like to turn your passion into a fulfilling career, the Y is an equal opportunity employer and is now hiring youth program leaders, lifeguards, swim instructors, and more. Plus, Y staff enjoy benefits including free YMCA membership and free childcare while you work. Find your passion, find your why in a career at fcymca.org.
Find the middle of the fairway with your drives. Get the golf tips and talk to keep you straight.
That's a great tee shot.
On the Edwin Watts Golf Hour. The Edwin Watts Golf Hour. Saturday morning at 10 on 1010XL.
Tobacco-Free Florida knows how hard it is to quit nicotine, which is why we offer different quit options to choose from for free, like 24/7 quit coaches available over the phone and free 2-week starter kits of quit aids. We're even experimenting with 80s pop music.
I'm giving you up, giving you up, giving you up. I'm letting you go, I'm letting you never come back to stone. I'll never come back to stone. I'll never come back. I'm giving you up.
Or maybe we'll just stick to the ways we know work. Visit tobaccofreeflorida.com or call 1-877-YOU-CAN-NOW for free nicotine patches.
The IRS has just received $80 billion in funding to hire additional agents for aggressive collections enforcement. If you owe the IRS, now is the time to take action before the IRS comes after you or your business. There's no time to waste. Call J. David Tax Law, a firm right here in Jacksonville, for a no-cost consultation at 904-507-4777. That's 904-507-4777. Or visit jdavidtaxlaw.com. Peace of mind is only a click or phone call away.
This is Hayes Carline for Kingfish Pest Control. Look, warmer weather now means mosquito, flea, and tick season is here. These pests are out for blood, but you don't have to let them win. Protect your home and family with Kingfish Pest Control. As a Kingfish customer myself, I know their products are safe for kids and pets. Plus, with a 100% satisfaction guarantee, you can relax knowing your yard is pest-free. Call today, mention the Jags to receive 10% off your initial service. That's Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. It is a Monday evening, and we are glad you are with us. Week 3 of Jaguar OTAs is underway, was out there earlier this morning. They'll have this week. They'll have a veteran minicamp next week, and that's it until training camp at the end of next month. Demetrius Harvey of the Florida Times-Union, always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Demetrius, how are you, man?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Hey, Demetrius, we're good. Thank you for the time. And all right, before we even get into practice, we were at the Doug Peterson presser earlier today, and you asked the question to Doug, and it kind of struck me. Would the Jaguars have interest in DeAndre Hopkins? And we've gone, Demetrius, from guys not wanting to come here because it's a small market and all this talk for so many years to now Doug Peterson is standing up there basically saying, well, our wide receiver room is so good that bringing in a guy like D-Hop is not a reality for us at the moment. That was kind of a surreal moment for me. What did you think about that response?
Yeah, it was interesting. It was about what I expected. You know, I asked it just to sort of get that out in the open. You know, there's a lot of speculation going on, so why not hear it from the horse's mouth? You know, it makes sense. You know, they just acquired Calvin Ridley. They had a great season with Christian Kirk and Zay Jones. They have Jamal Agnew. They just drafted Parker Washington. There's a couple other, you know, lower key guys that are on the roster that are up and coming. So it just made sense. It was like a situation where, you know, they just have guys on their roster that are able to fill that position. It would be as if, you know, say a Dalvin Cook were to come free, you wouldn't expect the Jaguars to be involved in that either because they have Travis Etienne, they have Tank Bigsby, they just invested money into, and then obviously Jermichael Hasty. So it was sort of that sort of mindset. But yeah, you're right. It's crazy because in years past, I don't think a single Jaguar fan would be would be happy with his response. But when we all tweeted it out there earlier today, I didn't see any pushback from it. I think everybody pretty much is aligned in saying, hey, there's a lot of good wide receivers already here. Everybody's excited for Calvin Ridley. There's not really much reason to bring in DeAndre Hopkins, even though he is a potential, future Hall of Fame player. So it's just an interesting dichotomy between, what we've seen in the past to now. And I think it just shows the growth of the team's roster and then obviously at that position group in general.
No, I completely agree when it comes to the wide receiver room. Again, Demetrius Harvey of the Florida Times-Union. Where I start going off the railroad a little bit, Demetrius, is at the rush end position. We see Leonard Floyd signs in Buffalo today. I think he would have been good here. I mean, that was one of the guys, he and Justin Houston, bringing in one of these veterans, and for whatever reason, they continue not to go that route, even though it appears they have the money to do so. Are you curious by that decision at this point, like I am?
Yeah, a bit, a pretty good bit. It's a situation where Leonard Floyd, to me, would have been a pretty solid player to add. I think that he also addresses that sort of speed rusher sort of aspect that they wanted from a guy like Abdullah or Chason that Mike Caldwell was talking about earlier today or earlier on Monday. So, it's a situation that, they obviously need help there. I think that at this point, though, it seems like they would be, say all else fails, they can't land a guy. I don't think they would be in desperation mode at that point. I think that they would be relatively content with going into the season with guys like Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, Abdullah, Chason, Jordan Smith. I mean, obviously they would love to upgrade, but I don't think that they're in a position necessarily where they're going to break the bank for any particular player. So guys like Frank Clark, guys like Justin Houston, Ngakoue, Clowney, all those guys are out there, but I don't necessarily think that they're in a panic mode to where they're going to go and be the first one to sign them. I mean, obviously Floyd signed with the Bills, so they weren't first. So it's a situation where I just feel like maybe the team feels a little differently about the pass rush than we do.
Certainly one of the main cogs in that pass rush is going to be Josh Allen. There was a lot of conversation among we in the media today on the sideline about Josh Allen. To me, it's a perception issue, Demetrius. I mean, it's voluntary, right? So I'm not going to kill the guy for not being here. Having said that, when 88 of the 90 guys are here, Ingram can't be here because he's not technically under contract right now, and Allen then is the only guy that's not here that can be here. To me, that's not a great look, right, going into a contract year, or am I misreading that?
Yeah, I mean, perception-wise, I can see how that would look a little strange. I mean, every single other person is there at practice, and there's the odd man out. He's, like, under a spotlight. So you're looking and you're saying, why isn't this guy here? Like, yeah, you're doing other things at home, but why aren't you on the field with your teammates like everybody else is? What's the issue? But, when you take a step back from it, I feel like you can see it kind of happens all over the league. It's just not as reported on, and we might not hear about it as much because we are in Jacksonville. We are covering the Jaguars, so you're not going to be looking at the Patriots camp to see that they're missing, 6 players or however much the number is now. So, it's a situation where, to me, Josh is sort of doing his own thing. Mike Caldwell and Doug Peterson said that on Monday, and it makes sense. It was a situation where you have a guy that is a 5th-year veteran. He knows what he needs to work on. Perhaps it's a situation where he's working on different things that he has never been able to work on before, and maybe this is the way for him to take that next step. He's had struggling seasons, so it's not like he's solved the case, so maybe he's doing something different. I think the biggest point and where we can actually make this a bigger story than it needs to be is sort of mandatory minicamp next week. If all the veterans are still mandated to go, and Josh Allen is not there at that point, then it's officially sort of a holdout. He's going to be fine. He's going to be reprimanded this and that. So if he's there next week, he's going to talk to us most likely. So, we'll probably get it all resolved then. But to me, it's like, yeah, there's a bit of a perception worry there. But at the same time, as long as he's doing his work and it comes to the mandatory stuff, it's pretty much nothing.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's voluntary now. It becomes mandatory for those 3 days next week. Demetrius Harvey of the Florida Times-Union. Demetrius, they started the offseason program on April 17th. It's now June 5th. They have 3 more OTAs in the veteran minicamp, and the offseason program is basically done until training camp. At what point does Evan Ingram's situation, not having more clarity, come more into focus?
Yeah, that's going to be around that July 17th date. I keep circling that. It just makes sense. That's the date that they have to come to an agreement on a long-term deal or not. Essentially, that's a deadline. Otherwise, he's going to be playing on the franchise tag this year. He would have to report before, I think it's week 10 or something like that. I think at that point, if we're getting to around July 5th or a couple weeks before and there's no news, there's nothing happening on that front, and they don't sign a long-term deal, I wouldn't be surprised if this is potentially, Evans' last season as a Jaguar, plays on the franchise tag and then is gone. It just makes sense. They drafted a tight end already in the second round. He's a, potential replacement. They obviously think highly of Brenton Strange. So, I think that July 17th date, if there's nothing doing there, then, that's sort of the date that we have to say, okay, this is what we have in store for us this year.
Demetrius, I haven't talked to you since or at least on the radio, since OTAs began. So you've been out there now 3 times, gotten your eyes on a lot of the new players, got your eyes on Calvin Ridley, certainly. Let's start with the offense. From an offensive point of view, what are a couple of things that have stood out to you to this point?
Yeah, I think from what we can talk about, Tank Bigsby has looked huge. I mean, he's a guy who, you watch his tape at Auburn and you're thinking, oh, he looks like a pretty solidly built running back. But then you actually see him in person. Now, he's not the largest running back at camp, but he's certainly big and bigger than Travis Etienne, even though they're listed at around the same height and weight. It's crazy to see, what he looks like compared to other guys. So, he's fast, physical. I think he's, so far so good on that front. The offense in general, I just think it's been clicking. I mean, you've been out there and seen it. It just seems like there's not very much wrong happening, and that's to be expected during the OTAs where there's no contact. There's nothing really in terms of hitting at all. You can't really create that disruption as much. So everything's sort of clicking. Trevor looks great. The deep balls were landing. It just seems like everything is sort of firing on all cylinders. Obviously, once we get into camp, then that's when we're really going to see how the offensive line holds up, how the receivers are actually gelling with Trevor, how the secondary looks, things like that. So it'll be interesting to see, but I think that so far so good for the offense.
You've been to every Trevor Lawrence press conference, I think, since he arrived here. Is it me, or does he just look happier now than maybe he has during his entire career, even going back to last year?
Oh, my gosh. I mean, first of all, it was night and day last year to 2021. I mean, the 2021 Trevor Lawrence press conferences, you almost felt bad for the guy. He was put up there with a terrible head coach and just a terrible situation in general. He's probably thinking, like, what did I get myself into? And you could tell, like, that was weighing on him heavily. I think that last year was sort of a recovery period for him. He was still recuperating from that first sort of, I'll say this traumatic season of 2021 into now. And so now, he's sort of opened himself up a lot more. He's a lot more invitable. It seems like he's definitely a lot more happy. He's just more welcoming. It just feels a lot better whenever you talk to him. He feels more calm. So yeah, I think that's good. I think that having a couple seasons under his belt, he's finally sort of got it. And then obviously being surrounded by the right coaching staff, the right people, that's helped him a ton.
Final moments here with Demetrius Harvey of the Florida Times-Union. As you said, we're limited a little bit as to what we can say and not say. But as far as the defense goes, just a broad overview, things you've seen out there that have stood out through 3 weeks of OTAs.
Yeah, I think you can look at the secondary and you sort of see the length and maybe more depth at those positions. Antonio Johnson stands out. He's, I believe, one of the tallest defensive backs on the team at 6'3". He was a guy that was working afterward with Tyson Campbell, which I thought, I made a mental note, and I'll probably note it in one of my stories soon. That's something that you want to see from a guy. You want to see him, working after it, especially with a guy like Tyson Campbell, who's expected to have a great season this year. But yeah, seeing Jordan Smith back out there, that's encouraging from the Jaguars' perspective because he missed all of last season with a knee injury. Caleb on Chason has actually looked a little bit better than what he has in the past, and sort of you can see that speed rush aspect that they want to sort of bring out. But yeah, the defense, there's not too much you can kind of take away. There weren't that many plays made that we can talk about, I believe. So, it was just interesting to see them all come together. I think that the biggest thing is that they're all in this, system for the second year. I think that there's been a lot fewer retakes or people miscommunicating. So I think that that's something to take away too. The communication aspect the Jaguars had last year was clearly a struggle, but this year, at least for OTAs, it seems like they're communicating pretty well and they're right on track.
I'm really high on Tyson Campbell, and the leadership that he's showing with only going into his third year in the league, I think is pretty impressive. Mike Caldwell talked to the media today as well, as you alluded to earlier. We spent so much time on Doug Peterson and the play calling and the offense, and obviously that's vital. But I think Mike Caldwell probably learned a lot last year, his first year calling plays on the defense, and you would expect year two will also be a little bit easier for him as well.
Yeah, it definitely will be. It was a situation where they had a first-year defensive coordinator. I mean, the first year as a coaching staff, a lot of first-year players, Trayvon Walker coming in there. Everybody's learning the defense on the fly. Obviously, there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be things that they probably regret doing last year that they can, kick out and bring in new things this year instead and sort of mixing it up. I think that you can even hear it, in my opinion, during Mike's press conference on Monday. Just, he was calm. It seemed like he was more sure of himself when he was asked certain questions. There's just different aspects. He talked about it, the growth that he's seen in himself. The growth, I think, the biggest thing that he pointed out was his relationship with the players. I think that, being able to trust your defensive coordinator, that he's going to put you in the right position to make a play, that's huge, and that takes time. Everybody's human, so this is a good situation where now you get to actually see, whether or not this is going to work out this year. You have Mike Caldwell now going into his second year. You have all these other guys another year older. So yeah, this is the year to find out if it's going to work.
Demetrius Harvey of the Florida Times-Union. Demetrius, final question. Boy, it's been a good sports year for you. An FAU alum. You got that FAU blood flowing through your veins, a Final Four run. You're also a big Miami Heat fan. What do you think? That's a big win for them last night, 1-1, now going back to Miami for Game 3.
That's right. Yeah, it is a big win. It was fantastic, man. I mean, like, it was honestly one of the better sports moments I've had, and it was just one game. I think that it was because a lot of people were counting us out. The previous game, after getting sort of blown out, down 15 at one point in Game 2, and then you have guys like Caleb Martin, who's able to come around, and Gabe Vincent, who's able to put up the dagger threes. It was just fun to watch, and I think that Miami Heat team, in my opinion, kind of is similar to the Jaguars team last year, where they're just so together. They're so part of a team. That Eric Spoelstra, the Heat culture, just all of that. So yeah, it's been fun. It's been a blast for basketball sports. For me, at least this year.
I told you this earlier. I'm an Orlando Magic fan, so I'm programmed to hate the Miami Heat. Yet it's hard to hate this team, man, with Butler. I love Adebayo. I mean, they are fun to watch. You got the home court advantage now. Series tied 1-1. What do you think? Do you think Miami pulls this thing out?
I mean, there's certainly a chance. I think that I give them way more of a chance than a lot of people did and do. It's crazy. You would think that, with the discourse, how it was right before the first game or even after the first game, you would think we wouldn't have beaten the number 1 seed, the Bucks, the number 2 seed, the the Celtics, and then the number 5 seed, the Knicks. I mean, you would think we wouldn't have just done all that, but we did. And obviously Denver's very beatable. They've never been in the finals before. So it's a situation where we just have a lot more experience in this position. And I think that absolutely there's a chance that we come away going back-to-back games at home. If you take both of those, then there you go.
Game 3 in Miami, NBA Finals coming up on Wednesday night. Demetrius Harvey of the Florida Times Union. Demetrius, know you're busy, man. Appreciate the time. We'll see you out there next week.
Talk to you later, Hacker.
In your car or out of your car.
Get me out of this car.
Take 1010XL with you wherever you go.
We're online and ready.
By downloading our free 1010XL app. Available for all smartphones and tablets.
Attention car buyers, are you noticing markups on vehicles on dealer lots? Well, come to Key Buick GMC, where we never have markups on our vehicles. Ask for Derek or Brian, where we have fair value pricing, no additional markups, as well as the only Buick GMC dealer with a lifetime powertrain warranty on all new Buicks and GMCs. That's only at Key Buick GMC. We are professional grade across from Tinseltown on the corner of Southside and Gate, or go to our website, keybuickgmc.com.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford.
Well, Jacksonville, as we turn the TV on in hopes of hearing something positive, we're hit with another mass shooting or murder on the local level. It seems to never end. We pray, we fast, and any number of other things. We do have to understand, as James said in the Bible, paraphrasing, prayer without works is dead. We as a community have got to get active to remove these individuals from our streets. How do we do that? Glad you asked. You can become a member of Mad Dash by calling 904-718-1649. We will train you on how to go to the streets to remove the individuals responsible for the crime from the community. We've got to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think.
For information about Mad Dad, go to Mad Dash Jacksonville Chapter Facebook or MadDashJacksonville.com.
Hey, it's Joe C., and we want to see who can challenge me and the XL Primetime Gang for the Sonny's Barbecue Rib Eating Contest, live right here at the 1010XL Studios. Text the word RIB to 641-1010 for your chance to enter in Rib Mania for America as we gear up for America's birthday. Contest will be live on air June 27th, and you can be part of all the action. Thanks to Sonny's Barbecue for providing the ribs. We just need you to see if you can beat us. Text RIB to 641-1010 for your chance to enter.
At Andy's Automotive and Truck Services, they know that your company's fleet is more than just a bunch of cars and trucks. It's your livelihood, your reputation, your pride. So when you need routine fleet maintenance or emergency repairs, Andy's offers after-hours and mobile service to minimize your downtime and keep your fleet running like new. While you care for your employees and customers, rest assured Andy's Automotive will take care of your fleet. Visit the team at andysats.com.
Mia O'Brien.
Fun-loving girl.
Weekdays on XL Primetime.
Likes to laugh. Lives to love. No dull moments tolerated.
Mia's quick hits are driven by Arlington Toyota on the video and social channels of 1010XL.
If you're often tired, have trouble exercising, or your heartbeat feels irregular, you might have atrial fibrillation, or AFib. Left untreated, AFib can put a strain on your heart and increase your risk of a stroke. But the new Heart Rhythm Center at Baptist Health can help. With the latest treatment options for heart disorders like AFib, our team of specialists can get you feeling stronger again. Learn more at baptistjacks.com/AFib or call 904-202-2342.
Hey everybody, Mike Dempsey here for Pella Windows and Doors. These intense summer storms are a good reminder to visit the Pella showroom on Phillips Highway. Check out Pella's new Hurricane Shield and Defender series. These amazing windows exceed all coastal requirements for storm protection. Seriously, they can withstand the impact of a 2x4 shot out of a cannon at 50 feet per second. You want quality, style, and protection? Visit PellaJacks.com and the showroom on Phillips Highway right next to Tesla. That's Pella Windows and Doors.
Pickin' here. After work's done for the day, I know you like to find your favorite sofa or recliner and watch the game. That's why you gotta call Zero Res this month. At Zero Res this month, tell them I sent you, and you'll get 25% off all upholstery.
Zero Res.
Denny Thompson here. Tyson Sound & Security is hiring salespeople right now. If you want to sell new tech security cameras or home automation, Tyson Sound & Security is looking for you. Tyson Sound & Security is hiring for sales positions, and they will train you to be successful. Apply online at TysonSoundAndSecurity.com or call 762-1000. That's 762-1000. Hiring for sales positions right now. Apply online at TysonSoundAndSecurity.com or call 762-1000. Equal opportunity employer.
Time now for a medical recap. A health and wellness tip from Jaguars head team physician Dr. Kevin Kaplan.
Establishing a regular sleeping pattern is crucial for your well-being. This includes going to bed at roughly the same time every night and waking up around the same time every morning. You may even consider turning off all electronic devices an hour before bedtime. Ever wonder why you can't fall asleep after staring at your phone right before bed? Studies show that the light from your phone actually decreases melatonin production, therefore causing disruptions to your sleep throughout the night. Get some rest before the big game. Go Jags.
When looking for a firearm, you want knowledge of product, a fair price, and of course, a quick process. Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jax Beach is always stocked with brand new firearms and the quickest in and out times this side of the ditch. BeachesJewelryandPawn.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
That falls on me. That falls on me to make sure that they don't look past what we're trying to get accomplished today, and that's on me to make sure we don't look down the road. And last year's last year, and you just have to keep reiterating the point. Like, I've said this in here before. It's it's a new team, it's a new season. We got to start over, and that's got to be the mentality. It's great what we did, but we haven't done anything in 23. And we haven't played a football game yet. So got a lot of work to do. But it falls on me to make sure that they stay level-headed and grounded and keep working hard.
This is Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
The head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Doug Peterson, earlier today down at Jaguar OTAs was asked about the expectations coming into the year, being the hunter, or being the hunted now, no longer the hunter, particularly when it comes to the division. I mean, I can't tell you how many NFL analysts, former players, etc. I've had on over the last 2 to 3 months, how many we will have on leading up to opening day, 97 days from now. And there is not one person that I've had on, not one, that does not think the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to not win the AFC South. And not only do they believe they will win the division, they believe they will win the division by a lot. I've had guys from Sports Illustrated, PFF, CBS Sports say the Jaguars might have this thing wrapped up in the middle part of December with 3 or 4 games left. That's the discrepancy they see in the Jaguars and the rest of the division, which is why I've already gone on record. To me, the season will be a failure if the Jaguars do not win the AFC South. If the Jaguars don't win the AFC South, something went horribly wrong. Whether that's injuries, I mean, that would be the one thing, right? A certain injury to a certain player that I will not speak of because I'm not going to be blamed for casting any voodoo or anything like that. But aside from a catastrophic injury at a position that you cannot have a catastrophic injury, for the life of me, I cannot imagine a scenario where C.J. Stroud in Houston, Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis, or Ryan Tannehill / Will Levis in Tennessee can win the division and not Jacksonville. But we'll see, right? As Chris Berman used to say, that's why they play the games. But clearly, the Jaguars are a big favorite going in. I mentioned PFF just then, Pro Football Focus. And look, I know how some of you feel about analytics, decimal points, number crunching. I didn't used to always read much into it, but I do find them interesting now. I think they are a good barometer on what people think and how guys are performing that you don't normally scout. Like, I can't tell you how well Luke Fortner played last year. I follow the football, right? Do I really take a good hard look at the center every play? No. But PFF does. They literally have guys that grade the center, the right guard, the nose tackle, the corner when the ball wasn't thrown his direction. I mean, that's their job. So it's an interesting website to me. But, boy, PFF has not been very high on the Jaguars this offseason. Not been very high at all. They ranked Trevor Lawrence as, I think, the 8th best quarterback. All right, whatever. I would have him higher than 8, but that's not terrible. But, last week they had Travis Etienne as, like, the 15th best running back in the NFL. They had Calvin Ridley at 28 and Christian Kirk at 31 among wide receivers. I'm sorry, there are not 30 receivers in the league that are better than Christian Kirk. No way, no how. And earlier today, Pro Football Focus kind of put it all together. Now, they'll do this again as opening day approaches, but for the month of June, they came out with their early overall roster rankings. The roster. How good is the roster based on the analytics, based on their formula? And the Jaguars, and they did all 32 teams, and again, the expectation, right, is the Jaguars are going to go to the playoffs. They're going to win the division, and they're going to compete for a high seed there in the AFC playoffs. Well, PFF agrees with that, but they still have a very low ranking on Jacksonville. They do not like some of the players on the Jaguar roster, particularly those in the starting lineup. They have Jacksonville right in the middle, 15th out of 32 among the best rosters in the National Football League. And a couple of guys that Pro Football Focus just does not like at all based on last year. I mean, their grading on Devin Lloyd is just awful. They did not like the way Devin Lloyd played last year. They did not give a very high grade to Rayshawn Jenkins. We think so much about the pick 6 against Dallas. We think so much about the forced fumble that won the AFC South. Those were 2 great plays, although I will remind you, and I think it was interesting at the time, Jenkins was kind of out of position on that Dallas play. Nobody talks about that because he won the game. Go back and watch that thing. I don't think Rayshawn Jenkins was supposed to be there. But he was there, and it was a great thing he was there because he intercepted the ball, ran the ball back 50 yards, and the Jaguars beat America's team in overtime, right? So it does not turn into a story. But PFF just does not like the Jaguar defense all that much. The Jaguar offense got a little favorable reception, but still, not a lot of love for the Jaguar offense when it comes to, like, Calvin Ridley came in at 64.2 out of a possible 100. Evan Ingram, 67.6. Remember, they had Evan Ingram as, like, the 14th best tight end in the NFL coming into 2023. And they say overwhelmingly the Jaguars' biggest concern is the offensive line. Walker Little at left tackle, Anton Harrison at right tackle. I suppose Ben Barch at left guard. You think you're pretty good at center and right guard, right, with Luke Fortner and with Brandon Sheriff. But it's very apparent, at least on PFF.com, that the opinion of the Jaguars here in Jacksonville is a little higher here than maybe it is outside. But the division is so bad, and the division is so underwhelming that even with PFF ranking Jacksonville 15th out of 32 on their overall roster rankings, they still give them an over win total of 9.5. They like the over on that, and they do predict them to win the AFC South. Speaking of the AFC South, there is a player in Indianapolis that is in some hot water. Hot water. Let me get the name here. It's an Indianapolis Colt defensive back. Gambling is becoming a real problem. A real problem in the National Football League. We saw last year, or 2021, October 2021, that now Jaguar, former Falcon Calvin Ridley, was the first to get suspended for gambling. Well, remember a couple of weeks ago, I guess it's been maybe a month ago now, the NFL came down on the Detroit Lions. Like 3 Detroit Lions were caught gambling, including Jameson Williams, a former first-round pick last year. So the Lions are going to be without 3 guys for a minimum of 6 games. There were 2 other players that were also suspended. So there are already 5 NFL players caught up in a gambling issue. Now it comes out today that Isaiah Rodgers, a corner for the Indianapolis Colts, Jaguar rival in the AFC South, Rodgers, who started 9 games in Indianapolis last year, is being investigated by the National Football League for possible violations of the league's gambling policy. This according to ESPN. The team acknowledged the inquiry on Monday. The Colts said in a statement, quote, "We are aware of the NFL investigation and will have no further comment at this time." Multiple sources familiar with the investigation confirmed to ESPN that the player in question is Colts corner and kick returner Isaiah Rodgers, a sixth-round pick who was in the final year of a 4-year deal. The sportsbook account was opened under the name of an associate of Rodgers, the sources said. Approximately 100 bets were placed on the account over an undisclosed amount of time, including, and this is important, including on Indianapolis Colt games, of which Isaiah Rodgers is a player. Most of the bets were in the $25 to $50 range, although there was at least one low 4-figure bet. Yikes. Yikes, yikes, yikes. NFL players are going to learn pretty quick. You know, it's the definition of hypocrisy, right? Everywhere you look, the NFL is promoting gambling websites. You cannot watch an NFL game without finding out the over-unders anymore. You cannot watch an NFL game without finding out the current betting line, the up-to-the-minute betting line. I mean, they're in bed with gambling websites, and they have been for a couple of years now. Particularly now it's getting worse as the days, weeks, and months go by. I agree that players in the NFL can't do it. Players in the NFL should be dealt with. But don't get on your high horse and don't say, oh, this is the worst thing ever, and how can you do this, and we're going to suspend you for a year, this, that, and the other, when you are promoting gambling websites 7 days of the week. Every day that ends in Y, the NFL is out there promoting their gambling partners. It is certainly, again, the NFL is being hypocrites here. They're trying to save face. I agree you can't have players gambling, particularly on their own team. I don't think we've had that yet. Calvin Ridley wasn't playing, right? He was injured when he was doing the thing with the Falcons. Those 5 players that got caught earlier this year, I don't believe any of those were on their own team. In fact, Jameson Williams was gambling on, I think, college games and other NFL games that did not involve the Lions. So we have not had a situation where a player or an associate of a player, in this case, was placing bets on that player's own team. More on this to come, but certainly it's a big story and one to follow. It does involve the Colts and a corner that started 9 games for them in the 2023 season. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go, Jacksonville. We're with you till 10 o'clock. We're glad you're with us. The Las Vegas Golden Knights in the Stanley Cup Finals, already up 1-0 in the series. They are looking very, very strong right now over the Florida Panthers. They lead Game 2, 2-0. After the first period, the Golden Knights looking to take a 2-0 lead in that series. Of course, last night, we saw the Miami Heat tie up the NBA Finals. What a performance by Miami, coming back from double digits down, giving Denver their first postseason home loss of this year's playoffs. Now it's all tied with the Heat having home court going back to Miami for Game 3. Zach Hanshu, NBC Sports Edge. He's one of our guys when it comes to covering the NBA. Let's talk Heat, Nuggets, NBA Finals, and an interesting LeBron topic we'll bring up as well. All that coming up. Zach Hanshu, NBC Sports Edge, next on a Monday night edition of Hacker After Dark.
Hello, sports fans.
Dan Hicken.
I'm expressing my inner anguish to the majesty of song.
Mornings.
I'm a hot habanero pepper right now.
On 1010 XL.
You don't understand a word I'm saying, do you?
92.5 FM.
It's science.
Want a low down payment and a low monthly payment on your next ride? Then you've got to go to Arlington Toyota Pre-Owned. Mia here. Right now, you can buy a pre-owned 2019 Toyota Corolla for just $1,000 down and $288 a month. Or you choose a pre-owned 2020 Camry, RAV4, or Tacoma for just $1,000 down and $388 a month. With over 400 used in stock plus more than 100 vehicles under $18,000, don't wait. 10939 Atlantic Boulevard and online at arlingtontoyota.com.
Duck Duck Air Conditioning, a division of Duck Duck Rooter, is looking for experienced and dependable HVAC services technicians to join our growing team. Duck Duck Air Conditioning is committed to delivering the highest level of service to our customers. Successful candidates will be hardworking, dependable, possess strong problem-solving skills with at least 2 years of HVAC experience. Ready to get to work? Please visit our website at duckduckac.com and click on the careers page. We look forward to hearing from you. That's duckduckac.com.
Duck Duck AC is an equal opportunity employer.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, it's Prosser here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan will only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money and pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement project. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. So even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness. Say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 904-999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Or as always, you can visit loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Wrestling fans, the River City Wrestling Con will slam into the Jax Fairgrounds June 10th and 11th. This two-day event will feature appearances by pro wrestling superstars, exciting wrestling matches, and an assortment of vendors and artists. Guests include Kurt Angle, Saraya, Jake the Snake Roberts, Rob Van Dam, and many more. Get tickets at rivercitywrestlingcon.com or follow on social media for event updates. June 10th and 11th, the River City Wrestling Con at the Fairgrounds.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Catch a wave to the Jacksonville Sharks for their fight against the Fayetteville Mustangs this Saturday, June 10th, 7 o'clock at the VyStar Arena. With tickets as low as $15, you cannot find this kind of affordable fun anywhere else. It's Hawaiian night in the Shark Tank. Stay for the post-game auction to win our Hawaiian Sharks jerseys. Kids, 6 to 16, sign up for a chance to dance with our junior attack dance team. Shark Tank, this Saturday, June 10th, 7 o'clock at the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena. Call 904-621-0700 or check out jacksharks.com. Fins up.
Hacker here for the Sausage Dudes Sausage. You know I'm a sausage guy, and the Sausage Dudes, Paul and Patrick, make the best sausage I've ever tasted. Their high-quality pork and spices separate the Sausage Dudes from the pack. Try their 4 flavors, including Italian, Polish, Hungarian, and beer bratwurst today by picking them up at any Publix in the Jacksonville area. A portion of their proceeds also get donated to the Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Florida. Try the Sausage Dudes Sausage today, the sausage partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
E.T. here, and y'all know how much I like my brown water, but I ain't gonna lie, it gives me headaches sometimes. So my alternative is Brackish Vodka. This gluten-free alternative to Tito's is 100% local, and all money stays right here in Duval. Not only does Brackish Vodka make you feel good, but when you support Brackish Vodka, you're also helping local charities. Try it side by side with your favorite vodka, and you will taste and smell how natural Brackish Vodka really is. And when you do, remember who sent you. Come on, somebody.
Come to Bowden Eye for all your eye care needs. Hicken here. Did you know that diabetes is a leading cause of blindness and affects up to 34 million Americans? Please don't take diabetes lightly. If you have diabetes, see your favorite Bowden Eye doc and save your vision. Bowden Eye is dedicated to the protection and preservation of the treasured gift of sight. Bowden Eye & Associates. Visit today for your personal consultation. Keeping the First Coast focused. New location now open of County Road 210 in St. Johns County.
The IRS has just received $80 billion in funding to hire additional agents for aggressive collections enforcement. If you owe the IRS, now is the time to take action before the IRS comes after you or your business. There's no time to waste. Call J. David Tax Law, a firm right here in Jacksonville, for a no-cost consultation at 904-507-4777. That's 904-507-4777. Or visit jdavidtaxlaw.com. Peace of mind is only a click or phone call away.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The NBA Finals all knotted up at 1-1 after Miami goes into Denver on Sunday evening and comes away with an impressive win. The Jamal Murray potential game-tying three goes up just short, and the Heat tie the series at 1. It now heads to South Beach for Game 3 on Wednesday night. Zach Hanshu, NBC Sports Edge, is one of our guys when it comes to covering the NBA, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Zach, how you doing, man?
I am doing great, man. How about yourself?
Zach, we're good. All right, 2 games into the finals. 2 very similar games, Zach. To me, the one difference is, in Miami's case, Game 1, their three-pointers were not falling. In Game 2, their three-pointers were falling, which to me were the clear difference in those 2 ball games.
Absolutely, yeah. Miami was hot in Game 2, and really we saw the role players finally step up. So Game 1, we had Caleb Martin, nothing burger. We had Max Strus, nothing burger. We had Duncan Robinson, nearly nothing as well. Jimmy Butler, lowest scoring game of the postseason. Something's off with him right now. But it's those role players. Butler and Bam Adebayo are going to do what they do. But the role players, they stunk in Game 1, and they came out firing in Game 2. And you're exactly right. That was the difference.
You know, there are a couple of things from both aspects, both teams I wanted to get to. Number one, you mentioned Bam Adebayo. You know, we talk so much about Jimmy Butler, and with good reason, right? I mean, he's the heart of this team. I'm not going to say that he isn't. And we talk about the role players and the three-point shooting. But Bam Adebayo, to me, is maybe the most consistent guy outside of Jimmy Butler. That guy may not put it up on the stat line every night, but what he does with defense, what he does with his tenacity and attitude that he brings that team, you saw it on Sunday night. The Miami Heat clearly would not be in this position without Bam Adebayo.
Absolutely. And obviously a knock on Denver and on, more specifically on Jokic is the paint defense. And, of course, Adebayo has taken full advantage. He's their number 1 scorer through these first 2 games. But he's doing this as undersized center. He's a smaller guy to be playing center. And as you mentioned, the tenacity, the ferocity, and just the hustle. I mean, this guy comes out here, you can see he's giving it 110% every single night. Some guys take plays off, but he is hustling on both ends of the court. He has been phenomenal.
Zach Hanshu, NBC Sports Edge, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. To Jimmy Butler, again, was not a great Game 1. Wasn't really a great Game 2 until the fourth quarter. He made some key shots, but I think a lot of the offensive problems, Zach, he's having is he's chasing Jamal Murray all over the court on the defensive side.
Yeah, and that'll take a lot out of you. Jamal Murray is obviously was just ridiculously good in the Western Conference Finals. He had a great postseason overall. To your point, in Game 2 here, only scored 18 points. Acted more as a facilitator, had 10 assists, but 7 of 15, 18 points, wasn't really getting a ton of shots up. Jokic with 41. Jokic kind of handled things as a scorer. Murray was more of a facilitator. I thought Butler did a good job on him in Game 2, limiting the volume and just limiting what he was able to do out there.
All right, so we don't know yet at the time that you and I are talking, but it appears that Tyler Hero, and this would have been unthinkable when it happened in round 1. Nobody thought he would ever be able to come back because nobody thought Miami would still be playing. But yet here we are in early June, and Tyler Hero went through warm-ups in Game 2, and the thought is that he might play in Game 3 in Miami. So I guess, Zach, my question, how does that change the series and honestly, could that affect Miami in a negative way getting Hero back? Because what they're doing right now seems to be working for them.
Yeah, I mean, you could make the argument that it's going to throw this team out of rhythm. I mean, obviously, he hasn't played since early in the Milwaukee series, and this group has found its rhythm. Obviously, Caleb Martin has taken on a strong role. Kevin Love has been more involved. He started last night. Duncan Robinson has been probably the best story out of Miami, outside of Butler and Bam. Just because we've seen him go from just catch and shoot 3-point guy to slasher and, driving layups. He was really the heart of that team last night to start the fourth quarter run that really put them over the top. So he's been excellent. You can make the argument that this might take those guys out of rhythm. But if you're Coach Spo, maybe what you do is you bring Tyler Hero along a little bit slowly off the bench. You give him some minutes. And he's a 20-point per game scorer this season and last season as well when he won Sixth Man of the Year. So I really find it hard to argue that would be a detriment to a team that sometimes does struggle to find their footing on offense.
Zach Hanshu, NBC Sports Edge, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, Zach, to the Denver side of this. Boy, it looked pretty obvious what Miami was doing, and then it looked even more obvious in the postgame when Spoelstra got upset when he was asked about this. They're going to let Joker score. They're going to let Joker score at will, but what they're doing is stopping him from getting others involved. I mean, Nikola Jokic had 41 points last night, but only 4 assists. And I think the Denver Nuggets record is like 0-3 in the postseason or something ridiculous when Joker has scored 40-plus. I mean, that's a trend at this point. So is it as obvious as Miami's going to let him get his, just stop others around him from getting theirs?
Yeah, there's more to it than that. Obviously, there's levels. Obviously, Miami needs to do what they did last night, just getting the most out of their players. But as far as stopping what Denver's doing, I think that's a pretty big part of what their plan is going to be moving forward. As you mentioned, the team is not at its best when he's the one that's carrying the load on offense. He can be up there. He can lead the team in scoring as he did in game 1 with 27. But this was not a balanced team effort here. This was 41 for him, and the other 4 starters for Denver scored the exact same number of points. Whereas in game 1, this was, almost everybody was in double figures. Everybody was getting theirs. And so I think Miami will definitely try to limit him as a facilitator, as a guy that's going to kick out to teammates, as a guy that's going to get others, maybe some easy baskets, some transition looks, send some guys to the free throw line with some and ones. I think they're definitely going to let him get his and just try to limit teammates. It definitely seemed to work in game 2.
41's an interesting number, and I'm going to go back, 7 or 8 years now to the NBA draft. How did he fall to the 41st pick? I'm watching him over this weekend. He's incredible. I mean, with all the money that's invested in scouting and all the money that's invested overseas and finding these guys and all these teams' resources that they put into the draft every single year, how did so many people, Zach, miss on this guy?
Man, I think 29 other general managers and scouting departments are trying to scramble and figure that out as well. Because you go back and read some of these scouting reports that have been floating around that, he's too slow, he's unathletic, there's no burst, there's no 5-inch vertical. And a lot of people praised him as a passer, but they said, the ceiling is limited for a guy with very little athleticism. And I think, I'll be honest with you, I have no idea. I think people just really underestimated how good he could be as a facilitator, and how good he could be with some of his post moves. I mean, he has some great moves in the paint. He's able to knock down 3-pointers, and he's shown that he does not need to be the most athletic man on the court, obviously, to make a huge impact.
Couple of more for Zach Hanshu of NBC Sports Edge, talking NBA Finals with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Zach, you never want to get questioned on your effort. Yet Michael Malone in the post-game press conference for Denver after Game 2 brought up his team's effort or lack thereof, basically calling out some of his guys. I mean, I saw a story where Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., and Caldwell Pope didn't even talk to the media last night after their coach kind of lit into them following Game 2. So where do you think Denver is mentally now going into Game 3 with their coach publicly saying, look, it was a lack of effort, a lack of tenacity there on the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, I think I'm hoping that will kind of energize these guys. To your point, guys like Caldwell Pope, he's a hustle guy, and he was on that Lakers team that won the championship in the bubble. He's not a hyper-talented guy compared to some of his peers, but so again, if you're not bringing that 110% effort every single night, you're not going to be able to make a huge impact just on talent alone. So they got more, in my opinion, they got more out of Christian Brown off the bench, rookie out of Kansas, than they did from guys like Caldwell Pope. Michael Porter Jr., 3 straight double-doubles, 4 of his last 5, finished with 5 points and 6 rebounds. That's not going to get it done for a guy that's getting paid and for a guy that you look at as, he's supposed to be an excellent three-point shooter. He's supposed to be a quality rebounder. He's supposed to give you something, on the defensive end. He does nothing as a facilitator. I'm not sure if you've seen the screenshots going around on social media of him taking a contested jumper, with 3 teammates standing wide open in the paint. But he's doing nothing to get teammates involved. And, of course, Aaron Gordon, he gives you what he can give you on the defensive end. But, yeah, there's a clear lack of effort, it seems like, when it comes to just being aggressive on offense, which is what they need him to do.
There was one play in particular in Game 2 where Kyle Lowry hit a 3, and Michael Porter Jr. didn't seem all that interested in closing out on him. I think even Jeff Van Gundy during the broadcast called it a come-to-Jesus meeting, as the coaches need to have with Michael Porter Jr. for the NBA Finals. For him to show that little effort on that play was telling. And, look, I don't blame Michael Malone, the head coach, for calling him out. All right, it's 1-1, Zach. We're going to South Beach, Game 3 Wednesday. Game 4, I believe, is Friday, so it'll be a quick back-to-back there in 48 hours. What's your expectation? Who do you tend to lean towards now that it's become a best 3 out of 5, and 3 of them will be played in Miami?
Yeah, at this point, I'm leaning on Miami. I think they're going to end up winning this series in 6 or 7. I think they split in Miami. Denver is just too talented of a team. Obviously, Miami, they have the veterans. They have guys that have been in this moment before. I think leaning on Kevin Love a little bit more will be helpful for them just because he's been to the finals so many times in the past and has played well at such a high level. Jimmy Butler is going to do what he does. He's a consummate professional. And some of these role players, they haven't shied away from the big moment. I mean, you have guys like Gabe Vincent who are just a walking bucket right now, and he did this on the road. So for them to have split, they did what they needed to do. They handed Denver their first loss of the postseason at home. And now, as you mentioned, they have the home court advantage. So I think Denver, again, is too talented not to win one of these in Miami. But I do think Miami ultimately can take this series.
Final moments, Zach Hanshu, NBC Sports Edge. Zach, there was a report out earlier today. Look, it's funny. As an Orlando Magic fan, I can attest to this. The NBA regular season's been over for like 2 months. 57 days if your team didn't make the playoffs. So teams that have been out for 8 weeks are already making free agent plans, already getting their off-season plans together. Free agency begins next month, believe it or not. And there's some thought that Kyrie Irving in Dallas, at least there was a report out, has made contact with LeBron James, not about Kyrie going to L.A., but reportedly asking LeBron if he wants to come to Dallas. I thought that report was very odd when it came out. What was your reaction to it?
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely odd. I mean, it's not surprising that somebody like Kyrie wants to play with the only guy that he's ever had success with. And it's not surprising that all stars would want to team up with one another to try to win a championship. But the timing of it and the logistics of it, 3 max players playing together. LeBron has 2 years, $100 million left on his current contract right now. how are they going to get this done, right? Is LeBron going to get a buyout and then take a pay cut? I really can't fathom another way they would get this done. I don't know how they would make it work, money-wise if he didn't, to still be making $47 million next year. And I'm not really sure what Dallas would have to offer in a trade if they're planning to keep Kyrie and Luka. I mean, who else are you trading at that point? Are they going to want Christian Wood? Are they going to want some meaningless picks? So I think it was a bizarre report and one that has really no grounding.
Of course, the last time we heard from LeBron publicly, he was questioning whether he was going to retire or not. That was a few weeks ago. I mean,
Sure.
your opinion, LeBron's playing next year, right?
There's no question in my mind that he's playing next year. That was a man that had some soul searching to do after, I mean, the greatest performance we've seen from a, quote unquote old man in the NBA ever. 40 points in a closeout game at the age of 38. He gave it everything he had, and they still came up short. That had to be heartbreaking for him. So I think in that moment, I think a lot of people's minds maybe go to a dark place and say, what the hell am I still doing around here? But he'll take some time in the off season, and he'll come back.
Had some interesting coaching hires, too. Nick Nurse, the former Raptor coach, now in Philadelphia. Frank Vogel, the former Pacer, Magic, and Laker coach, now in Phoenix, as the NBA offseason really heats up. And wouldn't you know it, the NBA calendar, the finals are still going on. We are 3 weeks away from the NBA draft. I really like how they do it. It never really ends there in the National Basketball Association. Zach Hanchu, NBC Sports Edge, is where you find his terrific work. Zach, appreciate the time as always, man. Enjoy the remainder of the finals. We'll talk again soon.
Appreciate you as always, man. Take care.
Summertime fun.
Singing Sweet Home Alabama all summer long.
Now that's hot. 1010 XL.
Men suffering from ED or PE, you'll see instant results on your first visit at Prime Men's Medical Center. For a limited time, your initial consultation and first treatment are totally free. You'll even get a gift that enhances performance in the bedroom. Call 904-664-8217.
Children under 5 die from drowning in Florida more than any other state. Together, we can reduce the risk of drowning. The YMCA has programs accessible to families that teach essential water safety skills. Face the water with confidence. Learn more at watersafetyflorida.org.
Let's fire up the flavor and ignite those appetites. Let's slow down and smell the barbecue. Because all your favorites are smoked for hours and ready for eating when you are. From our famous ribs to slow smoked pork. Enjoy some perfection by the plateful, safely in our dining room or in the comfort of your home. With curbside pickup, drive-through, and delivery. Sonny's Barbecue, local pitmasters since '68.
Brian and Angela Wall here with Window World. You've heard us talk about it. Window World, the #1 window replacement company in the USA, selling over 1 million windows each year for the past 8 years.
That's a lot of satisfied customers and why J.D. Powers has awarded Window World Best in Customer Satisfaction 3 out of 4 years.
Window World stands behind their slogan, simply the best for less. With Window World, you get top quality windows at a price that leaves more of your money in your bank account, and you get the absolute best guarantee there is in the window replacement industry. When compared to our competition, there is none. See for yourself. Call the competition. Get quotes from them. But before you buy, get Window World's free estimate and compare the quality of the windows and the price.
You'll see.
And when your new Window World windows are installed and they're saving you money on your energy bills, if anything goes wrong with those windows, Window World and I will be there to make it right. That's my guarantee.
Call Window World today. Start saving money on your new windows and your energy bills and take vacation with your savings. Window World, online at windowworldneflorida.com.
Window World, simply the best for less. Thank you for your business.
Window World also offers energy-efficient doors and siding.
A big win for the Florida Gators.
Get inside the Gators with the Florida Gator Report.
I'm Taylor Dahl, and I'm your Gator Updater. Listen for the Gator Report several times a week on 1010XL.
Brought to you by Darley's Plumbing, where quality counts.
Does your home or building need painting? For over 20 years, Performance Painting has had the privilege of preserving many of Jacksonville's most prominent buildings. That said, we feel like we're just getting started. I'm Jason Parker, and our team thrives on preparing, protecting, and preserving the homes, businesses, and public buildings that make up our local landscape. Contact us today to put our years of experience to work for you. Performance Painting. Prepare, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes, and I said yes to Yas, Dr. Mitchell Yas, and the Yas method. Now, I know you've probably tried medications, treatments, injections, even surgery. Maybe the reason you're still in pain is because they're treating the wrong thing and not addressing the root causes. Well, I know from personal experience, this does happen. But I found the best-kept secret in pain elimination, Dr. Yas and the Yas method. Call him today, 904-906-YASS, and say yes to Yas.
Hicken here. After work's done for the day, I know you like to find your favorite sofa or recliner and watch the game. Well, me too. It helps all of us wind down for the day. But I bet you don't clean that upholstery too much, do you? That's why you gotta call my friends at Zero Res this month. All upholstery, 25% off the sofa, 25% off the love seat, 25% off the sectional, and of course, 25% off your favorite recliner. Zero Res, man. Spell it forwards or backwards. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
We see some patients who come in and they have been in just so much pain for so long that they are just deflated.
But that's about to change because QC Kinetics provides hope for relief using all new regenerative treatments that concentrate your body's own healing properties into aching hips, back, shoulders, and knees. And Dr. Zuckerman, a medical director at QC Kinetics, loves watching the patient transformations.
One of the most amazing things is when I get to see a patient who, after a few months of our treatments, is just a completely different person. They are smiling and happy, and the weight of the world is off their shoulders because we were able to take away their pain.
And that's with no drugs, no surgery, and no downtime.
It's just amazing to be able to change people's lives like that. It's very gratifying.
Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 904-274-5522. That's 904-274-5522. 904-274-5522.
Are you looking for increased privacy and protection for your family and pets? Look no further than Superior Fence and Rail. Superior Fence and Rail is Jacksonville's top-rated fence company, delivering the highest quality fence products. They'll treat your property as if it's their own. So get off the fence and get your privacy back. Call Superior Fence and Rail today for your on-site estimates.
When you're on the fence about a fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
So quickly, we're down at Jaguar OTAs earlier today. One of the interns here at the radio station, nice kid, going to school, trying to get into the broadcasting field, comes up to me and he goes, "Hi, Mr. Green." And I sat there and I stopped for a second. You know, I've been working at 1010XL since the doors opened in April of 2007. So we're talking 16 years and 2 months. And I think literally it might be the first time anybody has ever referred to me as Mr. Green.
We're all man's men here, right?
98% of the time it's Hacker. If the boss man is mad at me, I might get a Ryan. But I don't think I've ever been referred to as Mr. Green. So today was kind of an emotional moment. Polite kid. I answered him. Yeah, I didn't say anything. I just thought, my God, I'm getting old. I was that 18-year-old, that 20-year-old that he is, and I'm going to be 40 this year. I have just completely grown up on these radio airwaves in Jacksonville, Florida. I appreciate you listening to me for the last 21-plus years. Garrett Podell, CBSSports.com, talking Jaguars, talking AFC South, and more is next. NFL talk on a Monday night. It's Hacker After Dark.
Making the ride home a little more enjoyable.
You keep the crew happy and you can't go wrong, eh, Frank?
Well, that's the idea, right?
The Frangie Show.
Oh, that's good. That's good fun.
Afternoons on 1010XL.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. Okay, easy now. You're teaching your kid how to parallel park. Ouch! Turns out he likes to do it by feel. Don't worry, eBay Motors has bumpers, trunk lids, license plate holders, and headlights. They've got lots of headlights. When you need parts, get it right the first time with eBay Guaranteed Fit. When you see the check, you know that part's gonna fit. eBay Motors. Let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Duck Duck Air Conditioning, a division of Duck Duck Rooter, is looking for experienced and dependable HVAC services technicians to join our growing team. Duck Duck Air Conditioning is committed to delivering the highest level of service to our customers. Successful candidates will be hardworking, dependable, possess strong problem-solving skills with at least 2 years of HVAC experience. Ready to get to work? Please visit our website at duckduckac.com and click on the careers page. We look forward to hearing from you. That's duckduckac.com.
DuckDuck AC is an equal opportunity employer.
Want to drive a real, authentic tank? For your chance to win a once-in-a-lifetime tank driving experience package for you and 3 friends from TankAmerica.com, text the word TANK to the 1010XL text line at 641-1010.
Tobacco-Free Florida has many free ways to help you quit nicotine. From free 2-week starter kits of quit aids to free cessation services like Phone Quit and Group Quit. We're even trying out new motivational tactics.
You're the greatest quitter. He's tobacco's greatest quitter. He's tobacco's greatest quitter of all.
Or maybe we'll just stick to the ways we know work. Visit tobaccofreeflorida.com or call 1-877-YOU-CAN-NOW for free nicotine patches.
1991, we played Boston College. Tommy Mack had like 15 tackles.
19.
Oh, I'm sorry,
That's
19.
okay,
Took 4
but
away
it was
from
19. Tom McManus, Friday from 10 to noon on 1010XL. Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson. A better way to a better window.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, it's Prosser here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days, and a $50,000 loan will only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money and pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement project. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. So even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness. Say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 904-999-1508. That's 904-999-1508. Or as always, you can visit loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Oh boy, not again.
Do you feel this way every time there's rain in the forecast? Amy Salt, owner of CrossFit Salt to Tear in the Riverside area, definitely did.
I had major rain anxiety from all the water collecting outside my gym. That's why I'm so happy I reached out to Clearwater Drainage. John came out, designed a system that moved the water off of my property, and all my kettlebells are now dry. I'm sleeping so much better at night.
Clearwater Irrigation.
And drainage, too.
ClearwaterJacks.com. The best golfing weather is upon us, and Hidden Hills Golf Club invites you to enjoy your round of golf with us. Our warm and welcoming atmosphere and spectacular golf course keeps our customers coming back. Check us out at hiddenhillsgc.com. You'll be glad you did.
Saturday, June 24th, the UFC returns to Jacksonville. The heavy-handed Josh Emmett looks to turn back undefeated phenom Ilia Topuria, plus dangerous Brazilian Amanda Ribas takes on the future Macy Barber. Don't miss UFC Fight Night, Emmett versus Topuria, live from VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com.
Father's Day is coming up, and what better way to show your dad you care than with a gift from Woodcraft? Whether he's a die-hard football fan or a golf enthusiast, we have the tools and supplies to help him create something he'll love. From personalized signs to custom golf club holders, the possibilities are endless. Plus, our experts are always here to help you with any project. So don't drop the ball this Father's Day. Head over to Woodcraft today. Woodcraft, the home of champion dads.
Hacker here, and you know that I'm a sausage guy. So let me tell you about the Sausage Dudes sausage. The Sausage Dudes use quality pork and carefully sourced spices to make the best sausage I've ever had. They have 4 outstanding flavors, including Polish, Hungarian, beer bratwurst with cheddar and jalapeno, and my favorite, the Italian. You can pick up the Sausage Dudes sausage at Publix locations all throughout Jacksonville. So take it from me and head to Publix today to pick up the Sausage Dudes sausage.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, the official personal injury law firm of the Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark.
on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. We are now in the month of June, which means we can officially say training camp begins next month all over the National Football League. That, of course, means right here in Jacksonville as OTAs continue ongoing down there for Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. With that, Garrett Podell, CBSSports.com, wrote a piece on the AFC South recently. Let's talk Jags, AFC South, and more with Garrett from CBSSports.com. Garrett, how we doing, man?
I'm doing great, Ryan. Thank you so much for having on the show. Happy to be with you.
Hey, Garrett, we certainly appreciate the time. Know you're busy this time of year. And all right, let's talk Jags and let's talk AFC South. First and foremost, let's rewind the clock back to free agency, the draft. When you look in totality, Garrett, the Jaguar roster now compared to when they left the field in Kansas City in late January, your thoughts on the Jaguar offseason?
I think there's certainly a lot to like. But I think the biggest thing for them is continuity. They didn't really make a ton of wholesale changes like they did entering Doug Peterson's first season when you had Zay Jones come in and Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram. All of those guys are back. I liked what they did, keeping Evan Ingram on the franchise tag. It was a great tight end draft. At the same time, Evan Ingram was such a great threat for them. And for Trevor Lawrence, I think one of the biggest things for him that's going to be important entering year 3 is continuity. Because, I mean, having Urban Meyer as your head coach in year 1, that's like whiplash. So, and then you have competency at head coach and Doug Peterson, and look what that did. You go to the second round of the playoffs, which had never been done before at all, just to win a playoff game after having the worst record in the NFL a year prior. And I like what they did in the draft, adding Anton Harrison on the offensive line in the draft round 1. I think is a good pick, good developmental pick. Brenton Strange at tight end, another good developmental later round pick for the Jags in the draft. Tank Bigsby, I think running back they got third round, I believe. I think he's going to be a nice complement to Travis Etienne, able to keep him healthy. His name's Tank, and he's known more as a bruising running back. So I think that's a nice tandem that the Jags have. And then defensively, I like what they did in the secondary in terms of the draft. Antonio Johnson, to me, was the number 2 safety prospect after Brian Branch. So some nice draft pickups, and ultimately I like having some of the younger guys on the team. A lot of youth on the defense, Devin Lloyd, Trayvon Walker, Tyson Campbell, a lot of guys in the secondary continuing to develop with continuity on the coaching staff. I think that's honestly one of the more underrated things. Not as much as who did they add, but just being able to have continual growth in the same system, I think will be really big for this Jacksonville team.
Garrett Podell of CBSSports.com. Yeah, I think the Jaguars, percentage-wise, brought back the highest number of players from last year to this year of any team in the National Football League. Garrett, there's no doubt there's a lot of expectations here in Jacksonville, but there is certainly a question on the offensive line. Jawan Taylor got $1 billion to go to Kansas City. The Jaguars were never going to pay him that. And then Cam Robinson reportedly is facing a suspension. Now, at the time you and I are talking, we still don't know exactly how long that'll be. One would anticipate, somewhere between 2 and maybe 6 games, which means Walker Little probably at left tackle and rookie Anton Harrison is the opening day right tackle. Does that give you any pause, any trepidation about the Jaguars in 2023, the situation there at offensive tackle?
I think it's something that is going to be the biggest question mark for their offense this offseason, absolutely. I feel like Walker Little, in my opinion, is a right tackle for them. Just when he's gotten significant play time in the past, that's where he's lined up. And I've heard coaches and players compare right tackle versus left tackle as, being right-handed or left-handed. It's similar technique, but opposite based on what side of the line you're on. So I could envision Little lining up at right tackle, and I've read some OTA reports, Cam Robinson's and Anton Harrison's ear. I could see him being coached up to be the left tackle in Robinson's absence. I think Little, he's been in the league for a couple of years now. I feel pretty decent about that. Harrison being a rookie, that's a question mark. I mean, he was great at Oklahoma, but obviously the NFL is a little different than the Big 12. I think that's something to monitor, but after what happened last season, Doug Peterson, I trust to make it work after seeing the magic he worked last season.
The Jaguars didn't add anybody necessarily in free agency, although an interesting signing about a week and a half ago, which we'll get to in a moment, but they did trade for Calvin Ridley. At the deadline last year, he got reinstated this offseason. Garrett, when you throw Ridley in there with Kirk, with Zay Jones, with Travis Etienne, Jamal Agnew, Evan Ingram, go on down the line, this offense potentially could be scary. What do you think Ridley adds to Doug Peterson's offense here in Jacksonville?
Oh, my goodness. Ryan, I think Calvin Ridley can take this offense to the next level because I feel like Christian Kirk ultimately is a high-level wide receiver 2. Same with Zay Jones, high-level wide receiver 3. I feel like Calvin Ridley gives Trevor Lawrence a go-to number 1 receiver because the last time Calvin Ridley played, which I know was the 2020 season, he's basically had a 2-year layoff, only played like 5 games in 2021 before mental health things were going on and then the gambling suspension. But he was number 5 in the NFL in receiving yards last time he played. And listen to where he stacks up in Atlanta Falcons history. So this is, his stats in his first 4 seasons. One of 3 guys in Falcons history, 200 catches, 3,000 yards, 25 receiving TD in his first 4 seasons. The only other Atlanta Falcons to do that, Julio Jones and Andre Rison. So this guy, before the suspension, before the layoff, was an ascending talent who was among some of the top guys in the game. So I think his impact on Trevor Lawrence, on the other receivers, on this offense, can really take it to another level to where you're now able to hang around more consistently with some of the other high-powered AFC offenses, of which there are many because of the tremendous quarterback depth and talent in the conference. And one of the things I wrote about in the article of mine, you mentioned handicapping the AFC South, was Jags offensive coordinator Press Taylor really complimentary of Ridley early on. He said he's been really impressed. They're very confident in the player they're getting and thrilled with the extra work he's putting in. For somebody who just missed a ton of time, and a lot of that was self-inflicted, to hear those things early on, I know it's OTAs. I know everybody's very complimentary of everyone's shape and work ethic this time of year, but that's everything you want to be hearing at this point about Ridley. And I think the connection that he can form with Lawrence and give him a true number 1 option. He's still just 28 years old, still has a lot of time left in his career. I think is tremendous and can really play dividends for Lawrence's growth and the offense as a whole's growth down in Jacksonville.
A couple of more for Garrett Padell of CBSSports.com. He's with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Garrett, nobody really talks about the kicking situation until week 2 arrives and the Jaguars need a 55-yarder to beat Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. And then all of a sudden the kicker becomes an unbelievable storyline for those 20 seconds or so. And the Jaguars, about 2 weeks ago, went out and got Brandon McManus, who was recently released from Denver. And so the story goes, McManus and his reps basically contacted Jacksonville, that he saw what was going on down here and he wanted to be a part of it. How big a deal is that for an AFC that's supposed to be very, very tight, very, very competitive, to be able to get a kicker like Brandon McManus here in the month of late May, early June? I thought that was quite the deal for the Jaguars at this point of the offseason.
I agree 100%, Ryan. I think it's a stamp of approval on everything that's been building with the Jags since Doug Peterson came into the building. I think everyone saw how they hung around in the postseason in Kansas City a year ago, and nearly won the game if you don't have a critical fumble by Jamal Agnew near the end of the game and a couple other bounces. There's a very real situation where the Jags win that ball game and go on to the AFC Championship, and who knows what happens. So this is definitely an ascending young team. Talked about the continuity, and I think it's just another cosign on this is a really bright future. And just the way the AFC South looks right now, I mean, Jacksonville is the prohibitive favorite to where you could see them going on a run where they're ripping off division title after division title if everyone can stay healthy and Trevor Lawrence keeps progressing the way it appears he can progress. And I just think the medal also, they showed that we talked about them playing the Chiefs, coming back from 27-0 in round one of the playoffs. I think that shows the kind of heart and togetherness and intangible chemistry that at the end of the day in the NFL, a lot of guys, once you've won and it's not so much about money and individual accolades anymore, they're just looking for the best place to go, have fun, and compete to win it all. And for a guy like Brandon McManus, won a Super Bowl, been on some great Denver teams last few years, some really disappointing Denver teams. I think it's an incredible compliment to Trevor Lawrence's development, Doug Peterson's management, and his coaching staff's management in Jacksonville, and just how they can factor in to be competitive in the AFC for years to come.
Final moments here with Garrett Podell of CBSSports.com. All right, Garrett, you mentioned the South. You wrote the article on CBSSports.com, kind of giving a broad overview of your thoughts on the AFC South. Let's go rapid fire. We got a couple of minutes left. Houston and Indianapolis. I'll lump them together because they both have first-year head coaches, and they both likely will be starting rookie quarterbacks. Indianapolis might tinker with Gardner Minshew for a month, but I can't imagine Anthony Richardson not getting out there pretty soon. Obviously, C.J. Stroud should be the opening day starter in Houston. Any of those teams have a chance of competing in 2023, or are they still a year or two away?
I would put Houston in the year or two away bucket. I like what they did in the draft, getting a couple pillars for their future in Stroud and Alabama defensive end Will Anderson Jr. But I think there's just not quite the amount of talent around them yet to where you take them seriously to compete with Jacksonville. The Colts, to me, are a little different. I think Anthony Richardson is going to start right away. I think the more he gets reps and OTAs and training camps, I think after evaluating him in the draft process, he's a little more polished than people give him credit for. The offense he was playing in Florida was pretty vanilla and had him playing on a higher difficulty level than it needed to be in terms of route concepts and pass catch groups, etc. But I think that he has a ton of talent in Indianapolis. You have Jonathan Taylor, led league in rushing a couple years ago, dealt with some injuries. Got multiple Pro Bowlers on the offensive line there in Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly. You've got multiple All-Pros on defense, defensive tackle DeForest Buckner, linebacker Shaquille Leonard, who should be healthy after a couple back procedures. He's been talking like he's going to be ready and healthy this season. And he's got a nice receiving core. Michael Pittman Jr., a lot of speed, Isaiah McKenzie, Josh Downs, and another big body in Alec Pierce. I think Anthony Richardson has significantly more talent around him. Shane Steichen, yes, first-year head coach, but he oversaw Jalen Hurts' development in Philadelphia, and the way he handled that offense in Philly, going from run first, let's keep it simple, build around Hurts' awesome athleticism. He could do the same thing with Richardson, slowly open up the deep ball and play action in that offense. So I'm actually a little more bullish on the Colts being competitive this year than some others.
Yeah, I'm rooting for Anthony Richardson. One of my co-hosts here on 1010XL, Denny Thompson's been training him for a couple of years here in the city of Jacksonville. So there's no doubt that I'm rooting for Anthony Richardson. I just can't get over the fact, Garrett, that he's thrown 900 passes in both high school and college. And that's just not a lot, man. And then you're going to throw him into the league. The thing for me with Jacksonville, too, when it comes to Indy, Jacksonville sees them twice in the first 6 games. I think it's a good thing to see Anthony Richardson early this year because I agree. By the time he figures out what he's doing, he could potentially be pretty good. For the Jaguars' sake, hopefully that's after week 6. And then finally, Tennessee. Look, they brought in a lot of guys, Garrett, but they also lost a lot of guys. They cut a ton of veterans. Tannehill's on a ridiculous contract. It's the final year of that. Derrick Henry's not getting any younger. Look, I understand, Mike Vrabel and the toughness that he ensues, and he's a great head coach. But I don't know what Tennessee's doing. Maybe you do. Are they retooling? Is it a rebuild after this year? They're certainly bringing in a lot of young guys, but they have that crazy Tannehill contract still on their books.
Yeah, I think they're a team that's caught with 1 foot in the past and 1 foot in the future, making their present very murky. They upgraded the offensive line, to your point. They signed Andre Dillard from the Eagles, had a good draft pick, drafting Peter Skoronski out of Northwestern, because that offensive line was really an issue for them a year ago. But, yeah, they didn't really change their receiving group, which is questionable to me because Mike Vrabel, who played linebacker in the NFL for 14 seasons, he also lined up as a trick play tight end. He has 10 career receiving touchdowns. That's more than any other wide receiver tight end on the Titans roster right now, which should set off alarm bells, as in, who is Tannehill throwing to? Who is Will Levis throwing to if he ends up getting in the game? I feel like this year is really going to be a year where they're in contention for a nice draft pick. And when Tannehill's contract expires at the end of this year, it's rebuild time. And I just think they looked around, didn't see a whole lot of nice alternatives that made sense in terms of guys they could quickly sign or trade to keep things going. And with the injury Tannehill had last year with the ankle, they obviously drafted Will Levis with an eye toward the future. They traded up 8 spots in the second round to go get him. I think this is just a team that's going to see what happens this year, but ultimately kind of lift the air out of the balloon and look ahead to the 2024 draft, in my opinion.
Absolutely love that stat. Again, Mike Vrabel, who played linebacker in the league, you said he caught more touchdowns on the goal line as a tight end in his career than any current receiving option in Nashville. That is insane. I will give you credit on that, but I will be referencing that a lot over the next couple of weeks and months, no question. Garrett Podell of CBSSports.com. Garrett, really enjoy the conversation, man. Again, know you're busy with OTAs going on all over the league. Thank you, my friend. We'll talk again soon.
Sounds great, Ryan. Thank you for having me. Had a great time.
And thank you to Garrett Podell, CBSSports.com, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. As, week 3 of Jaguar OTAs are underway. They will go 3 more practices this week. Next week, a veteran mandatory minicamp. We think, of course, Doug Peterson canceled that thing last season. We expect them to have a veteran mandatory minicamp next week. And then that's it until training camp begins in the end of July. Well, that'll just about do it for what has been a extremely busy Monday night edition of Hacker After Dark here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, Garrett Podell, his terrific work there at CBSSports.com covering the National Football League. My friend Zach Hanchu of NBC Sports Edge talked a little NBA Finals with us. The Miami Heat tie that series up 1-1 with their win in Denver last night. Game 3 in Miami on Wednesday. I believe Game 4 also in Miami on Friday. It'll be a quick 2-day turnaround between Games 3 and 4, now with Miami owning the home court advantage. And back in hour number 1, Demetrius Harvey of the Florida Times-Union talked a little Jaguar OTAs, among other topics. We certainly thank Demetrius for taking time out with us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. We'll be back tomorrow night. Are you kidding me? Our late night show, Jacksonville, Florida. Let me ask you, where else would you rather be from 10 o'clock to midnight than right here with Dylan Denmark and yours truly on Hacker After Dark? And we do hope that you join us then. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the hacker, Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Monday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation, light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous, don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.